Well, so Citrix virtual apps and desktops, they've gone sort of through an evolution over the years. Personally, I've been using it for a good 17, 18 years altogether. In its current iteration around using Citrix Cloud and more of a Citrix apps and desktops as a service, I've been using that for the past 5 years. What I currently use in my organization is Citrix Cloud. So within Citrix Cloud, we use Citrix virtual apps and desktops as a service. So we're fully baked into the cloud with regards to that. And so being in Citrix Cloud, the version gets increased on a regular basis. So not sure where we're at right now, but it's always pretty new. Oh boy, we've got a ton of them, and of course, ever since COVID happened and my organization has sent everybody home to work, using Citrix virtual apps and desktops is absolutely critical in keeping our core business functionality going, in keeping everybody happy, our customers happy. We're a utility, so within our municipality, we're considered an essential service, and so as an extension of that, using Citrix virtual apps and desktops is absolutely critical in making sure that customers are happy and we keep the lights on, literally and figuratively, for our customers out there. We currently use Citrix across the board, with people working from home, whether they're on a laptop that's maintained by our organization or on a personal laptop. They use Citrix. They use Citrix virtual apps and desktops primarily. So we got about 98% of people using it today. And the use cases vary from actual developers using VDIs to customer service agents who answer the phone for actual customers of my organization. And we have IT support staff. We have all kinds of use cases today, pretty much right across the board. And I can tell you, with the agile and dynamic way that Citrix technologies are, we're able to solve each and every one of those use cases really quite well. It's really quite impressive how it's all come together. So we use Citrix ADC currently today. That's where all of the traffic flows in for us. Anybody connecting to Citrix today flows in through our Citrix ADC environment, and through that we're able to monitor all of the traffic and where they are coming from and how often they come through. And so we have our security analytics tools that tie into that information quite tightly, and so therefore any bad actors, any anomalies get quickly identified, and they get quickly actioned by our operational team as soon as IT security makes us aware. We also use remote PC access, and that's been a huge bonus for us. Number one, from a security perspective, so our employees can sort of connect through to our Citrix portal and access those desktops that are sitting in the office in a safe and secure manner. We have segregation and data leakage policies in place which prevent any data from flowing outside of our organization. So it's really quite secure. So if you think of it from a full-on perspective, we have Citrix Cloud. Users connect into our Citrix portal, and we have analytics there that are monitoring for traffic and any anomalies or bad actors. That flows through our Citrix Cloud implementation, where we have more analytics baked in, that we can identify any sort of scenarios that might be pose a danger to my organization. And then to the actual endpoint itself within the NMAX building, there's rich analytics that we have there that's being drawn, that can help inform us around any sort of security concerns that might be going on. So the features of Citrix apps and desktops that we find most valuable in my organization are overall the actual agility that we can where we can deploy Citrix virtual apps and desktops. At my organization, we have resources in Azure primarily, but we also have resources in AWS and on-prem We have all kinds of different operating systems as well. And we have users that need to access applications on a sort of a one-off basis, and we have users that need to access full-blown desktops that live within our data center, both either in Azure or on-prem. And so just having that ability to serve all of those use cases and all of those needs using Citrix virtual apps and desktops is absolutely critical. The other thing that we really enjoy about it is the fact that we're in Citrix Cloud, and using that service within Citrix Cloud really gives us the ability to not worry about the infrastructure components because it's software as a service methodology. Citrix really worries about what those updates look like and ensures that the uptime is as high as possible. So that allows my team to focus on the real high value items, which is really the end user security and end user experience. So I think having that ability as Citrix virtual apps and desktops as a service is really critical to us to do what we need to do and really focus on the things that are important to us as an organization. The third thing that we find absolutely valuable and critical are the analytics. Citrix has been maturing their analytics platform over time, and it's really in a mature state now where we're able to highlight any user pain points around user experience, any security issues or vulnerabilities or bad actors and security scenarios, concerns that might be out there. That's been really, really important for us and allows us to get that data into the hands of the right teams so that they can action them as quickly as possible so that we have as safe and secure and, highly, capable user experiences as we can offer. Remotely, allowing that end user to have that flexibility to be able to access my organization's resources on whatever device they're on, whether it be an iPhone or Android or a device that my organization has given them, or their own personal laptop. That's number one. It starts there around that end user experience, giving those users that flexibility to use whatever endpoint device that they want. Around performance and metrics, I think the analytics are key. It allows us to identify any pain points that users might have and make quick actions around those things, whether it be increasing resources on some servers or virtual desktops, to looking at our group policies to optimize them some more. That's been pretty critical as well to us, and overall connectivity has been great. The protocols that Citrix uses are they're the industry leaders in that remote access protocol that allow anyone from a super high latency connection to fiber internet connectivity to be able to access our resources and have a more or less similar experience because of those protocols that Citrix uses. So I think it's all of those things combined that allow us to offer our end users the best experience that we can, and it's really piggybacking off of those really mature technologies that Citrix has to offer. Our organization supports Zero Trust in a few different ways, but I think we've got ways to go with regards to that model of security. Citrix is going to be pretty crucial in that because whereas we have those capabilities there to offer conditional access with regards to our end users, we're just not there yet. But just having the capabilities there, knowing that we can implement that when my organization is ready is really crucial, because that's one boundary, that's one roadblock that we don't have to worry about. But the technology is there to be able to do it. It's just a matter of figuring out how we're going to implement those Zero Trust policies and implementing them when the time is right. I think I would describe them as robust. I would describe them as agile. I would describe the policies around that as being super secure and well thought out. Having the ability to implement policies and having those policies get applied to the sessions and the devices that we need them to in super quick time is really critical. My thoughts are that Citrix has always been super focused on being platform agnostic. That's really been one of the core tenets of their approach to their technology, and so my thoughts are is that, again, I keep on going back to Citrix being flexible with whatever technology that their clients are on, and that's certainly in the case of my organization. So that's super critical. We know that whatever decisions are made in our organization in terms of where our resources go, Citrix is going to be there to support us around that. So having that layer of security that is offered around those analytics and ability to action items based on those analytics right away is super key. Certainly, COVID is a perfect example of that. This whole scenario that we're in with COVID and lockdown. My organization, being an essential service, has been very conservative when it's come down to any lockdown policies within our organization. So they've sent people home very, very early, and it's going to be a while before people are actually working from the office again. Keeping the lights on at my organization, both figuratively and actually because they are a utility, is absolutely critical, and all of that work right now is being done on the backbone of Citrix virtual apps and desktops. So really, Citrix apps and virtual desktops with that easeability of connecting to my organization's resources regardless of what device that the user is working on. Having that ability to connect from high latency or low latency connections and having a very similar experience, super critical. Having that consistency of experience when logging in, super critical. And performance, having the analytics to give us data around performance and security has been fantastic, because we've been able to make tweaks and optimizations as we go after putting so much load on our Citrix infrastructure. I think all of those things combined have been super important in adding value to my organization and how we work. Now, just to give you some numbers, before COVID happened and work from home happened, my organization had approximately 500 concurrent sessions connecting at once. Now we're up to, because of work from home and COVID, we're up to 2,000 connections connecting at once. So again, the whole organization pretty much going through Citrix virtual apps and desktops and utilizing those services within there. And having the agility to be able to build out our infrastructure to match the increase in usage has been super key as well. So technologies within the virtual apps and desktop service, such as machine creation services, MCS, and having the ability to build those virtual desktops or app servers in Azure or on-prem as needed has also been super critical, because as our user base has grown by 4 times, we've had to, of course, grow our resources that are within our Citrix environment by 4 times. And so we were able to do that quickly, rapidly, seamlessly, and without any user disruption. So I think before, when COVID happened and other companies were faced with sending their workforces home, it was very, very quickly recognized that the organization, certainly in the city where I live, that weren't using Citrix technologies were really struggling with having their folks work from home. But it's been widely touted within my organization that when we sent everyone home, there were no disruptions whatsoever, that we were able to quickly and seamlessly build out and build up our environment to suit the company's needs. And so all of those things have been super high value in allowing our company to operate the way it has. Regarding the security of that data that's being used within the organization, the utilization of Citrix virtual apps and desktops has been highly secure. Right from the get-go, we have policies in place that prevent anyone from copying data from the data center, from application servers, from network shared drives to their client device, and back the other way. So we have that ideal perfect segregation between corporate data and that personal endpoint device. So we've had no concerns with regards to security because of those policies, and all of those features and security is inherently built in Citrix virtual apps and desktops. So we've been very, very happy with that. 100% again, with that agility to be able to for Citrix apps. And regarding business continuity strategy, Citrix apps and virtual desktops, with the agility that it provides to be able to connect to whatever resource locations are out there, whether it be Azure, AWS, or on-prem, has been super critical in allowing us to build out that business continuity strategy now. So over the course of the last year, we have built out our business continuity strategy a great deal. And what that looks like is that we still manage everything through our central Citrix cloud service, but our resources are equally split between two of our on-prem data centers, active and active. So we have an active BCP strategy in place today, and we also have a BCP strategy in place in Azure if both data centers happen to go down. So being able to build P3 down has been has really been a huge value to my organization, and ensuring that whatever happens out there, we're going to be able to keep the lights on and keep people working. We do have that capability today. However, it's not a capability that we're utilizing a great deal. I think over the next year, that's certainly something that we're going to be building more into our strategy. And I think that's the real critical thing when it comes to Citrix apps and virtual desktops. It's not a stagnant type of technology. Citrix invests a lot of development in maturing that product and building it out and building more and more capabilities in there. And so a lot of companies like ours, we're playing catch up with a lot of those capabilities. But again, knowing that Citrix is putting that research and development in their product as much as they are, and knowing that we have those capabilities, so that barrier is non-existent when it comes to the technology, is really critical, because now we're able to plan and implement those types of strategies at a timeline that's best for us, knowing that the technology is going to be there to serve that. We do have a posturing policy in place today that does sort of a loose assessment of what that endpoint looks like, and provides access accordingly. That posturing is done on our NetScaler, Citrix ADC level, and that engine that does that has been pretty important in allowing us to ensure that only those devices that we allow into our organization get into our organization and get access to only those resources that we allow them to get access to. So admittedly, we haven't really got too far into that capability at my organization. I do see it as super critical, and it is it is a capability that we want to build into our solution over the next year, but it's really not something that we've used right now. From what I've seen, it will serve all of our needs. Citrix virtual apps and desktops, that analytics and security, those security policies will allow us to quickly identify any anomalies, and in an automated type of fashion, using AI, allow the technology to act upon those anomalies without any human intervention. And I think that's key. Whenever you see huge outbreaks in vulnerabilities in organizations, it always tends to come down to that human intervention and the delay in a human, an actual human doing that analytics themselves and assessing and acting. Whereas Citrix technologies within the virtual apps and desktops space have those capabilities already automated in there. So that's going to be really important when my organization moves to implementing that methodology in the coming year, and I'm looking forward to that. Again, I think that's another capability that we could be using, that we're not currently today. I think as our infrastructure has been maturing at my organization, we're moving into a place where we can utilize those technologies and capabilities. Right now, we're not really using that. So, but I do recognize the value in that, and that's something that my organization will definitely be enacting upon over the next year. Identifying malicious actors within my organization. We've only implemented and are using a very tertiary level of utilization when it comes to that. And but I think as my organization matures more in moving into those types of capabilities over the next year, that's again definitely something else that we'll be able to take advantage of. Yes, Citrix virtual apps and desktops provide everything for us within one integrated platform. I think with COVID and work from home, that's been clearly apparent that all of the use cases out there that we currently have in my organization have absolutely, without a doubt, been met with the services and capabilities that Citrix virtual apps and desktops provides. And that comes down to our users having a better end user experience, and us having the capability of having analytics around that and being able to tweak and optimize as we go, to security and manageability. The ease of manageability for Citrix virtual apps and desktops is huge, and we're able to get away with doing a much better job at managing that environment now with less people than we have before. Absolutely, it has. If you think of just overall support, having all of that support and manageability within a single pane of glass has been super critical. We have two people that manage the workloads of 2,000 people working from home, and that's critical. That's super key, and that saves us time, that saves us effort, that saves us money, and as well, people working from home. With Citrix virtual apps and desktops being so well mature around being centrally managed, we're able to send people home and not need to have any consideration for what devices that we need to send home with them. Whatever device they have on their desk, they can take with them. We know it's going to be fully supported when they try to connect to our Citrix virtual apps and desktop service when they get home. So that's also saved us a lot of time and money and support. Oh boy, that's a good one. I think in terms of areas of improvement around Citrix virtual apps and desktops, I think improvement around that analytics piece, I think is super important. Whereas there has been a lot of maturity over the last year around that area. I think a lot more needs to be done, and a lot more of that value of those analytics need to be sold to the end users. I think Citrix is working on a lot of things that are ahead of the curve, and a lot of organizations aren't quite there yet with implementing those policies. So, with implementing those technologies and capabilities. And so, I think another area that Citrix could improve on, which has nothing to do with the technology, is just selling to its customers the importance of taking advantage of those capabilities that are right within the services that they already pay for. I think those are two key areas that Citrix could improve upon, and which kind of is an extension to Citrix apps and virtual desktops. For us, it's completely straightforward. So we're in a Citrix cloud environment. So what that means is that Citrix manages all the bulk of the infrastructure components of our Citrix virtual apps and desktops farm. What that means is that on-prem, what my folks really need to manage are those high-level things within that service, within Citrix Cloud, like which apps get installed on which desktops and how we deploy apps and servers, which is pretty high-level stuff. And there's just some servers that act as connectors to that virtual apps and desktop service, which are on-prem and in our Azure tenant, that just allow that connectivity to Citrix Cloud. They're low or no maintenance whatsoever. They're evergreen. They get updated all the time. We basically set it and forget it when it comes to those Citrix connectors. So now that brings us to the resource layer. So that's the actual virtual apps and desktops themselves. So because Citrix Cloud supports any kind of operating system out there, all we really need is an agent running on each one of those endpoints. And then that's it. We run the agent. We make sure the agent is kept up to date on those endpoints. We make sure that those agents are connecting to our cloud connectors, and then Citrix basically does the rest in terms of making sure that infrastructure is up and running and available. Our deployment took probably 3 months altogether, not very long at all. We had for Citrix Cloud, we had Citrix consulting services come in and do that for us. We've always been super happy with Citrix Consulting Services. They have such fantastic people there, such huge talent there on their bench that help organizations such as ours do what we need to do in the Citrix space. And so we had them come in, and for 3 months they implemented the product. It was super straightforward. Everything was documented. So when it came time to hand that service off to our operational staff, it was super easy. And quite honestly, the overhead of managing Citrix apps and desktops is way less than it was when we had our on-prem farm with Citrix. So we're super happy with the ease of manageability, the implementation took place, and the professionalism and maturity of that implementation. Things went super smooth, and we couldn't have been happier. From the deployment, not much at all. I was the main technical lead when it came to that deployment. Citrix Consulting Services really just needed some inputs that were pretty specific to the organization itself. And those types of inputs, such as what the environment looks like, service accounts, and that kind of stuff, that low down deep technical stuff is really specific to each organization, and that's about it. They did everything else. They did the solution design, they did the implementation itself, they did the operational and training with additional individuals. So it really was an easy implementation from my organizational's perspective. Not much overhead at all, and that's why we go to Citrix time and time again for those implementations. Virtual apps and desktop stability is completely robust. Citrix, as I said, with Citrix Cloud, Citrix manages all of that infrastructure. They take care of the availability. They take care of any business continuity worries. We really just need to focus on our core skill sets, which is making sure our customers are happy and our environment is secure. And so it's been fantastic. In terms of scalability, Citrix virtual apps and desktops have a lot of technologies that are baked in there that allow an organization to scale up or scale down as required. And further leveraging Azure for scalability has further added value to our organization. So a great example is pre-COVID, we had very, very little endpoints, I should say, resources in Azure. We had some virtual desktops and we had no application servers. When COVID came along and we knew people were going to be home, we knew that we had to ramp up very, very, very quickly. We fully leveraged creation services, MCS, to be able to scale. So being able to take a single image and build 2,400,000 virtual desktops, all within minutes, was second to none in terms of any other technology out there that we could have used. So that scalability and be able to do that in Azure, where we really don't have to worry about that storage and compute power, that's something Microsoft worries about for us, was fantastic. It was almost like giving our environment steroids, and it's been amazing in terms of that scalability. Now, as people start coming back to the office and a lot of those are needed, we can just as quickly scale down so that that compute and resource cost in Azure isn't so great anymore. As well as smart tools. We've really leveraged smart tools to be able to scale up and scale down and let us see what that cost looks like, because that's always a consideration as well. An organization always wants to be able to build the right amount of resources that are going to serve our end users' needs, but not more than what is actually needed, because that's just going to cost an organization more money. So the analytics and smart tools and machine creation services is allowed to do all of those things in a transparent way and scale up and scale down very, very quickly. Our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops environment is very well organized. About 98% of our organization currently relies on Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops to keep the lights on, keep the business going, and for us. I think as the situation evolves with COVID and work from home programs, and some people come into the office, some people continue working from home on an ongoing basis, I think we're going to continue to leverage those technologies, and I think we're going to continue to evolve those technologies that Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops use as we go. So as an organization where we've got serious eyes on Citrix Workspace, and so in the near future, if we can use Citrix Workspace and all of those additional capabilities that has, in conjunction with Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, I see that as a natural evolution when it comes to our Citrix environment, and I think that's going to even mean a better experience and a more secure experience for end user community and the organization as a whole. Technical support has been fantastic. We have the ability to call in to our Citrix technical support folks. We have the ability to create tickets within the Citrix Cloud Console, and so the ease of creating tickets has been great. The support that we've been given around issues ranging from very, very small to very large and farm-wide issues has been fantastic. And that support has been even more motivated by our account rep that lives in the city that we're at and we have a good rapport with, as well as our sales engineers. So between that partnership of our account rep, sales engineer, and the IT support folks, we've had a great experience, and it's something that we never hesitate to utilize whenever we can. They've been great consultants whenever we've had general questions to ask. They've been great troubleshooters whenever we've had a minor or major issues. So across the board, it's been really, really great, and so we're super happy with the support. No, we've had a previous iteration of Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, which is Zen Desktop Farm, and we've just continued to grow with Citrix over the years as Citrix has evolved their products. we've tried VPN solutions. We've tried remote desktop, Microsoft solution, and none have provided the agility, the robustness and stability that we've needed to give our end users when it comes to them doing their core functions and my organization. I think, in terms of security, VPN definitely raises some eyebrows, where you have endpoints out in the wild at people's homes, at cafes, utilizing VPN, using a VPN connection, which is a full tunnel into our data center. So if that device becomes compromised, our data center can rightly become compromised, and that was a huge concern for us, and that's what Citrix virtual apps and desktops provide for us, is that segregation between our corporate data and that endpoint device. Another example is around remote desktop. Remote desktop uses the RDP protocols, which are not nearly as mature as the Citrix protocols that are used. So what we see is during particularly high latency and connections, we see stability issues, we see jittering when it comes to videos. We just don't have that robustness when it comes to that connectivity that we do with Citrix virtual apps and desktops. So I think in my experience with other organizations as well, Citrix virtual apps and desktops is just a really mature product that's been evolved over many years, and continues to evolve. And Citrix tends to always go back to those core capabilities, which have been super key for organizations like mine to be able to do as well as we can with such a distributed workforce. In terms of pricing with Citrix virtual apps and desktops, I think it's gotten better over the years. Citrix has found more dynamic ways to be able to provide licensing models that fit many different scenarios that organizations have. We've been able to evolve our own licensing over the years to accommodate our situations between concurrent versus user device licenses, and now when we move into the Citrix workspace realm, we definitely have some options there. So I think Citrix is always willing to negotiate different models. They try to offer their end users, their clients, flexible options to license those products, and so we've been very, very happy with the way that our licensing has worked out with Citrix. Anyone who's thinking about getting into virtual apps and desktops and utilizing that in their organization, I would really start thinking about what use cases would make the most sense. I think Citrix has really in the past been very heavily focused on the remote worker. So other organizations that I've worked with, we've had people distributed in the field, working in mines, working out in the fields, working at oil and gas plants, and having that centralized management for people that are working out in the field I think it's a critical use case. So think about those workers in your organization that meet that use case, and I think that's a no-brainer in terms of trying out that technology with them. I think that there are other use cases as well, like developers and other business units that may require a second desktop or a third desktop for testing and for development work outside of their primary machine that may be managed by their organization. And I think the third use case is a no-brainer as well, and that is around contracts. Often organizations have third-party contractors come in, do work for that organization, and having that segregation of data between the data center, what's in the data center, and what's on that endpoint is critical when those third-party contractors come in with their own laptops, their own company's laptops, and want to do work for your organization. Having the ability to ramp up, ramp down, give access, take away that access very, very quickly without worry for security and data leakage is another no-brainer use case. So again, it all comes back to use cases and what one's you'd start implementing. But I think as those as organizations get more used to that technology, they see the true value in it. They'll very, very quickly see how applicable those capabilities that Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop provide can be applied to your organization wide. When you look at this pandemic, all of our use cases had to start using our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops in my organization, and without any downtime whatsoever. And so that's been super key, and I think if that, God forbid, or a natural disaster that may hit your company where people can't work from that office anymore, those are other critical use cases that people don't often think about that you're going to need to be ready for. And Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops provide that readiness for you right out of the gate. I've seen some material relating to ROI. We haven't crunched those numbers ourselves. I just can see the tremendous value that it's given us, the stability that the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops has given people to be able to keep up their productivity and mitigate that downtime that they've had. So I've seen it in theory. I can see it with my own eyes every day, but we haven't actually crushed those numbers, and that'd be something I'd be very interested to see, because I know behind those feelings that I have, behind what I'm seeing, I know that there are actual numbers that will show that ROI. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from using virtual apps and desktops is how truly dynamic and scalable it is. Again, COVID and work from home has really put that environment and that technology to the test. It's put everyone to the test. And it's allowed us to scale up as our user base has scaled up. The licensing model has allowed us to have that flexibility to scale up as needed. That stability that our end users experience has allowed them to teach us from home, and with little or no training in terms of how to connect to those resources while they're at home. We've had very, very little learning curve. People have just picked up on the technology. They've known exactly what to do, and it's been very, very intuitive in that regard.